I almost said Calvin Riddler.
Calvin Riddler.
Is that one of the Batman's like lesser known villain? Oh my gosh, it's Calvin Riddler!
Welcome to Fade or Fly with Mike and the Feather, your weekly football podcast recorded right here in the heart of Sin City. Join Mike and the Feather as they dive into the world of sports bet predictions, game analysis, and serve up a healthy dose of Vegas-style humor. Whether you're looking to ride the winning streak or soar to new heights in your football knowledge, this is the podcast for you. Let's embark on this gridiron adventure together from the entertainment capital of the world.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Fade or Fly. We hope you're having a great day or night wherever you are watching our video today. We appreciate you being here. I'll put it up front. If you do enjoy the content, we always appreciate those thumbs up on the video. And if you're watching for the first time, you want to see what we have to offer going forward, please make sure you subscribe so you're notified for new content, especially if we put out any last minute updates or changes to picks or predictions or anything we do on the channel. So that said, I think we're going to jump right into it. And, this is the recap episode. We're going to talk about week 6 in the NFL. So we're going to do it in our Watercooler segment. Let's jump to that. And also we're going to show you the Feather's results for his picks for last week. All right, so week 6 is in the books. I think it might have been a very interesting week 6. We had a lot of interesting things happen. A lot of teams that seemed to maybe be on the verge of a collapse or did collapse. Some really interesting referee calls or lack thereof. Quite a few teams showing some cracks or maybe showing some solidity. Now they're starting to be who they're going to be for the rest of the season. But actually, let's just get into this. Just a few hours ago, one Mr. Julio Jones has now signed with the Philadelphia Eagles. Where do you think he's going to fit in with that team?
Yeah, I don't have much of an expectation for Julio Jones. I mean, he's going to probably fit in, and he'll do a little bit here and there, but they're pretty well set at wide receiver. I think they have him in there as an extra guy for a little bit more depth. And yes, he still could probably show flashes of himself over the period of the season, but I don't expect much out of him at this point.
Yeah, it's interesting signing too, and I don't know if that maybe ends up having teams, he'll get open if they start double teaming more on A.J. Brown, which wouldn't be good for us on our fantasy team. But yeah, they are pretty stacked. I mean, I don't think this is any kind of reactionary thing to a particular game that happened this weekend, which we'll discuss in a minute. But kind of going that angle, thinking about the New York Jets, Aaron Rodgers might be on the comeback trail. I've heard between week 12 and week 15, I've seen different stories about what week he would be available.
I've heard week 15, week 16, which there's 18 weeks. So that's still pretty good because no one on earth has pretty much made it back from that injury in the same season. And they were talking playoffs initially.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs?
Was his goal. And now we're talking regular season maybe. That's pretty wild. We'll see what happens. I mean, he's not young, so the healing process you'd think would be slower, but maybe he's the bionic man and he's going to get it done. So we'll be determined later on, I guess. But right now he's getting out there.
Here's a question. Let's just say let's just say the Jets don't continue on any kind of winning ways that could get them to the playoffs. Do you still put him in at week 15 and have him play the last 3 games, or do you say just sit back, collect your check? Let's do it next season.
Oh, I mean, if the Jets are out of it by the time he's ready to play, I don't think he's going to play because what is he playing for?
Exactly.
I mean,
and more risk.
He doesn't need stats. So, I mean, really, he's not going to play. But, I mean, right now the Jets' defense is looking pretty good. In fact, I would argue to say top 2 in the entire league. And that being said, they should be in contention going into that week 15, 16 area. So I think that if Aaron Rodgers is going to be a go, he could be the missing piece to get them to the Super Bowl.
Let's roll it back a few days. This seems like a long time ago. To Thursday night, the Kansas City Chiefs at the Denver Broncos. The Chiefs won that game 19-8. And I'll be honest, we were actually busy having an old-fashioned Wisconsin barbecue here. We had a good friend of the program. Some of you may know him from YouTube and other locations, but Wisconsin Tom. And he flew in for a week of football fun here in Las Vegas. He brought us plenty of Wisconsin sausages. We barbecued in the backyard, sat down. We were more focused on, I think, eating the food than that game.
Get in my belly.
Because that was just not looking like either team needed to be there. And disappointment, I think it was only 8 shots of Taylor Swift.
The fact that we even noticed and paid attention to the number of times they showed Taylor Swift tells you about how bad that game really was to watch. But the bratwurst, the cheese curds, the sausage, all the yumminess that Tom brought to us for that Wisconsin tailgate was amazing. And he cooked away, and it was outstanding. I was eating it for the next 3 days.
Jason, I'm really upset right now, like legitimately upset.
Okay.
Why didn't we call it our Taylorgate party? Actually, okay, but
Taylorgate, oh my God.
Let's tie 2 things together. I'm ready with my stats today. Russell Wilson got sacked for the 500th and 501st time in his career in that game. Now that I've blown the reference, do you know who only active quarterback is who's taken more sacks than that and how many it would be? I've given you all the hints. I've just said we literally were talking about stats. I thought I buried the lead there.
No, I missed it over my head.
It's one Mr. Aaron Rodgers, 531.
That's a lot of sacks.
That's a lot of sacks.
A lot of sacks. One thing in regards to the Chiefs game, I mean, Denver's terrible. Their defense is certifiably garbage. That being said, pretty scary that Patrick Mahomes and this offense look pretty anemic. I mean, I hear excuses for him, and they were trying to try new things, and they were doing trick plays and blah, 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 blah. But in the end, they were terrible. They were just not good. Patrick Mahomes was not good. If he could only throw 1 touchdown pass against a Denver Broncos team that basically can't beat some high school teams, that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, match up all the games this week, put the Chiefs against any of these other games, even a team that like the 5-1 Lions, who are definitely a good team, but you wouldn't necessarily think to classify them on the same level as the Chiefs. But put that game together, that might not be an easy game from the win.
The Lions are a better team than the Chiefs right now.
I think they might be.
Lions are
in the top 3.
I think a lot of teams are better than the Chiefs right now. The Chiefs' defense is keeping them in the game, but that offense is terrible. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is off.
It's going to be the Taylor Swift curse. It's going to be the blame at the end, I can tell you that.
It could be. I mean, although Travis Kelce was the only guy that really had a really good game for the team. I mean, 124 yards, 1 touchdown, and he was once again Patrick Mahomes' security blanket.
For sure.
And he looked great, coming off of an injury, still banged up. But Patrick Mahomes needs to stop worrying about doing bath bomb commercials and nuggies and everything else, and maybe just start focusing on football, because he's not playing great this year. And, granted, everyone expects him to turn it around because he always does. But you know what? As of right now, he's not.
Got to earn that Nuggies money check somehow.
Yep.
So on Sunday morning, we had the last of our very early morning games we have to get up for a couple of weeks until the NFL moves on to Germany. We had the Baltimore Ravens playing the Tennessee Titans. Final score, Ravens 24, Titans 16. Boy, if you liked getting up early to watch field goals be kicked, then this was the game for you. You were in your happy place. Not much going on in this game until we get towards the end of the fourth quarter, when the Titans have the ball, 1st and goal. And for some reason, with one now playing Mr. Derrick Henry, who at that point had 12 carries for 97 yards. He doesn't get 1 more yard. He doesn't even get the ball handed to him. Hand the ball off.
Ryan Tannehill was out, by the way. Ryan Tannehill was not in the game. They had their backup quarterback in, which has very little experience. He was a rookie last year. And they have the ball. The Titans actually started to play football in the second half, and they were kind of closing the gap. And I don't know where they were the first half, but they came around in the second half. They were looking good. They have 1st and goal twice on the 1 yard line because of a penalty. So they actually got down there, missed a play, but then they got a penalty, got it back. 1st and goal in the 1. You have Derrick Henry. The guy is going to be able to get that 1 yard probably 95% of the time. They didn't, and they have no Tannehill. So why would you have a backup quarterback in, you hand the ball off, you get the touchdown. It's that simple. They didn't. All 4 plays didn't do that. And now it hurt us because ultimately it could have got a cover, right? It would have been a backdoor cover to cover the 4.5. But just from a standpoint of playing football, what's going on with these teams? And they're just making poor choices, either poor clock management or they're doing just poor play selection. I don't
Well,
understand.
this goes back to almost a decade ago now with the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, where once again you have the ball on the 1 yard line. You can win the Super Bowl. You have Marshawn Lynch at the time, one of the top running backs, and you don't even put the ball in his hands. I was saying this, like, in my mind, when you have a situation like that, when you hand the ball off to a stud running back, you are making the defense have to make a play. You don't have to make a play. They have to make a play. But when you decide to drop back and throw into tight coverage because you only have between you and the back of the end zone, you have a good like 6-7 yards. And now you got to A, complete a pass, and B, then get into the end zone and come down with it if you aren't already in the end zone.
Right.
You have all the onus to make that play work. I think you got a Derrick Henry, you got a Christian McCaffrey, or you go back to a Marshawn Lynch. That ball's on the one. You put the ball in their hands 4 times. That's what you're paying them for. That's what they're good at. But it didn't happen, and like you mentioned, it was one of our picks for the week. And once again, like Lamar Jackson, just not looking like the Lamar Jackson I think people wanted them to pay for. So overall, just not a great game. We didn't get that one, but at least we get to sleep in for the next 2 weeks before we got to deal with this again.
Absolutely.
Let's jump ahead. We're going to look at all the games, but I'm excited about this one. This was the late afternoon game. This was the Philadelphia Eagles, mortal enemy of the New York Football Giants, playing at the New York Jets. And Mr. Prognosticator here not only felt the cover was good, which a lot of people might have thought, +7, okay, the way the Eagles are playing. You said here last week, outright, you believe the Jets were going to win this game.
Upset alert, baby.
You didn't even know Sauce Gardner wasn't going to be playing yet when you said that.
That wasn't announced, no.
This was the first win by the New York Jets in franchise history going back to 1973 when they first played. 13 games. They finally beat the Philadelphia Eagles. Came away with a big win. And I want to put it out there. Some people are going to say, oh, well, you know, they only won because of that lucky interception. But this is the point of the NFL, right? Sometimes they don't give the ball on the 1 yard line to give you a cover. Other times you get to pick where you need it. That's the nature of the game. You take your chances.
Yeah, the reality is Jalen Hurts didn't play well. I mean, he had one touchdown, 3 interceptions. DeAndre Swift, who's been a beast all season long so far, 10 carries, 18 yards, 1.8 yards a carry, is not going to get it done. The only bright side, of course, was A.J. Brown. He had 7 receptions, 131 yards, so he was outstanding. But Zach Wilson didn't make mistakes. If you were going to tell me that Jalen Hurts is going to throw for 1 touchdown, 3 picks, and basically cost the team the game.
Again, with no Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, no Sauce Gardner, and their other top cornerback on the other side as well. But Zach Wilson doesn't make any mistakes. I mean, he didn't light the world on fire. I mean, Garrett Wilson had a decent game. They didn't particularly run good. I mean, the Eagles' running defense is really good and dynamic. Defense did what they've been doing all year long, and that is causing lots of problems for the opposing offense. And they got it done. The interception at the end, that really helped, obviously, to set them up to get the touchdown and take the lead. But they were in that game the whole time, and the Eagles just didn't look good, just like last week against the Rams. I said the Rams could have very well beat them, and they definitely almost covered. It fell short, but the Eagles got work to do, and they got a tough schedule coming up. So if they don't figure these problems out, they're going to be in some big trouble because their schedule is one of the toughest in the league the rest of the season.
That's the byproduct of getting to the Super Bowl and not winning. Now you got to really earn it the year after. So
Yep,
for sure.
Exactly.
So good pick on that one. Let's continue on to another top-level team in this game, the Miami Dolphins versus the Carolina Panthers. Just to be clear, it's the Dolphins that are the better team, in case you weren't aware of this. Dolphins.
You wouldn't have thought so the first 10 minutes of the game.
I was going to say the Dolphins won this one 42-21 after trailing in the first quarter by 14 points. Came back with 3 unanswered scores. Nice for me because we don't talk much about in-game wagering and what we do, but I nailed that one on the in-game when suddenly the sports book said, well, 14-0, let's put Miami at -7.5. We pounced on that. Mm-hmm. That was a good one. And once again,
it got as low as -3.5.
-3.5. So you could have double dip and triple dipped on there, and we had some friends with us who did.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so on to the game itself. Maybe the Dolphins are the best team in the league. It took 6 weeks for them to actually have to punt on an opening drive. First time in 6 weeks, first time all season. Mm-hmm. You had Tua completing 21 passes for 262 yards, 3 touchdowns. Raheem Mostert is Mostert. I always say it wrong.
Mostert.
You yards.
Mostert.
Raheem Mostert is still going off. He was averaging 6.8 yards per carry for 115 yards in that game. This I thought was I had to write this down so I get this right. So the Dolphins had 424 total yards for the entire game, which was 100 short of its league-leading average. And you're under your own expectations. You have a dynamite team. And, of course, Tyreek Hill went off with 163 yards on Sunday for a league-leading 814 yards through 6 games, most in the Super Bowl era. So it goes without saying the Dolphins have a lot of weapons, and maybe they misfire at the start, but, man, they come back at you with all guns blazing.
Yeah, the Dolphins, I mean, I'm not going to anoint them anything right now because Carolina still has not won a game. They're 0-6, I believe. But they're a good team. They have a very high-powered offense. The only thing is we saw them play their first big game against Buffalo, and Buffalo took them to the woodshed. So I don't want to read into it. They got to play again one more time. But and there's a lot of games. Miami's going to prove themselves. They got the Chiefs coming up. They got a lot of big games. But, yeah, the stats don't lie. The stats look great. But we'll find out. We'll find out what the future comes. Tua is staying healthy. And that offense all around, whatever running back seems to be in there, they step up. They're getting the yards. The defense is decent. I mean, the defense has not been great.
Well, I know the players, too, are a little bit upset with the defense. Vic Fangio, I believe he's calling like 75% zone plays. He's not blitzing. He's giving the opposing quarterback, plenty of time in the pocket to throw that ball. So, that could come back to bite them when you have a team that's going to throw the ball 30, 40, 50 times, which did happen this week, and we'll get to that too. So Dolphins looking good. Definitely a top 4 or 5 team. But like you said, there's question marks even amongst the Dolphin lovers. You got to be a little bit concerned with some stuff that's going on.
Yep. Still early, but they're looking good.
Speaking of being concerned, there's some concerns coming out of this game. The San Francisco 49ers playing the Cleveland Browns. 49ers lose this one close, 19-17. Kind of lost on the back of a missed field goal by a rookie kicker. Christian McCaffrey, possible oblique injury. No timeline set. Might be back this week, might not. Trent Williams is out. Debo is day-to-day. Still have Kittle. Still have Jennings. You still have weapons. But Brock was a disappointing 12 for 27, 125 yards, 1 touchdown and interception.
So everyone wants to tear Brock Purdy apart right now, and it's like they're all like, they made him a Hall of Famer and everything else in a way, and they talk so highly of him, and they put this unnecessary pressure. He was 10-0.
The man's first regular season loss, technically.
Yeah, he was 10-0. Going into this, so he's 10-1 now. Now let's just look at the real stats here. He was playing the number 1 defense in all the land. He was in Cleveland. The weather was not ideal. Push comes to shove, he still put a game-winning drive together with no Debo Samuel, no Christian McCaffrey, a left tackle that was 50% at best, and he still drove them down in not great weather against the number 1 defense to kick a 41-yard field goal, a kick that would be made 85% of the time by all the kickers in the league, if not more. If he makes that kick, the conversation is completely different. They're talking about Brock Purdy as the guy that, without his 2 best weapons and his left tackle in bad weather against a top defense, drove down, kicked the game winner. Boom. Instead, the kicker misses it. Not Brock Purdy. He's not the kicker, just to be clear. The kicker's name is Moody, not Purdy. And now all of a sudden the script changes to Brock Purdy is garbage without those players in, blah, 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 blah. So that's the media. I'm guilty of it myself, making some pre-assessment, prejudgment, and overreactions, okay? But in this case, let's settle down, okay? He's a young quarterback that basically has been doing the best football he can. He's been playing great, and he's allowed an off game. But even in this off game situation, he still almost should have gotten a win. Bottom line, 85% of the time, they win that game just by that kick.
And I want to be clear here. The quarterback is Purdy. The kicker is Moody. So when they lost that game, I guess they were all pretty moody.
Oh,
I can't stop myself. I'm sorry.
Can't help it.
Sunday Night Football, the New York Giants playing the Buffalo Bills. I didn't even bother to write down the score because I was getting this because I was so focused on
what world? You go ahead.
I'm just saying, like, look, I don't like to use excuses, but in what world does any other quarterback not get those extra pass interference calls in the end zone to a star receiver like Darren Waller? If that's a Patrick Mahomes, if that was Josh Allen on the other end, if that was even a Brock Purdy, they might be like, look, we already had the Eagles lose. We had the 49ers lose. No one knows what's going on with the Cowboys. The Dolphins almost lost. We can't let Josh Allen walk out of here without a victory. 14-9, whatever it was. Like,
well, the Dolphins were never, Anthony, sorry about that. They were never in doubt to lose that game.
Well, true. But I'm just saying, there was a moment when the NFLs get on the horn like, okay, they're losing 14-0. How do we fix this, right?
I mean, I just think, first and foremost, how did the Bills not get their first points until
Half.
the third quarter?
Yep.
Like
6-0 at half.
How did this happen? The defense of the Giants, especially the defensive backs, they couldn't guard most high school top athletes.
And let's be fair, that game should have maybe even been 13-0 going into the half if the Giants could figure out how to handle clock management and not throw a pass that if it's not completed in the end zone, you have no time to do anything. Another case of you got Saquon Barkley back. It's a yard or two. Just let the man do what he does best.
Yeah, the breaking news is the Bills couldn't score in the Giants. I don't understand it. Like the
Giants are good. Okay, no, I won't go that far.
Literally must have been like the Giants on rookie level of Madden, and whoever was, and then like the 7-year-old playing all pro or all Madden was controlling the Bills that game because it did not make any sense. I mean, hats off to the Giants. They played a solid game. They stepped it up for the first time this year, and they should have won that game. I mean, it should have came down to it. I mean, they have first down and goal on the 1-yard line, and maybe they should have ran Saquon Barkley. I don't know. It's so hard to pass. You got 22 players in a very small area. Threading a needle on a pass situation, I think maybe they should have done some sort of option run with Tyrod Taylor to Saquon Barkley. I'm not sure. But I think the play, but yes, they did get cheated. That was pass interference, and they should have had at least one more play from the 1-yard line, and it didn't happen. And the Bills survived, and they're 4-2, I believe, now. And they should not be. I mean, so they got, I mean, was that the hangover from London? I'm not sure. They had a rough game the week before in London, and it seemed to carry over in this one too. So we're going to find out where the Bills go from here. But the Giants, they got to feel good about it. I mean, in the end, they're not going anywhere this year, but they got a moral victory. So those are worth it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know. There's no world where Daniel Jones doesn't quarterback this team next season too, what they paid him. But I almost was kind of hoping the Giants might turn around without him. At least put the question out there is like maybe Daniel Jones wasn't the end all solution. Maybe that money should have gone more to Barkley or more into the market somewhere. So it's going to be a struggle for a few seasons as a Giants fan, but hopefully we'll pull it together.
Mm-hmm.
So two teams that I'm not a fan of whatsoever. We had a little matchup here in Las Vegas between the New England Patriots. Well, I don't know if it's even a matchup. Like, I don't know what the Patriots are doing, but the New England Patriots and the Las Vegas Raiders. This was a game where a year removed from the infamous pitch back, toss back, turnover debacle that I witnessed. That was, I guess at that point, I'm going to cheer for the Raiders slightly more than I am the Patriots. Just my hate for Tom Brady will permeate that team for all eternity. That was the Pats' first touchdown in 12 quarters, the last 12 quarters. Literally 3 full games they've gone without scoring a touchdown. This is the Patriots. Even if you say who's quarterback and you believe in Bill Belichick, the Patriots are going to find a way to score points. Denied his 300th win. He's still saying 299. Belichick can't be happy about this at all. Kind of just like a SmackDown game, and we had Josh Jacobs running about 77 yards, I believe, and Devontae Adams silent on the Raiders side. 2 catches, 29 yards.
He was banged up.
The Raiders weren't doing anything either. They just had to do slightly more than the anemic Patriots.
Jimmy Garoppolo got knocked out, obviously. Went to the hospital with a back injury.
I need to find it. Episode 1. This man sat here and said, I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo gets out of week 6. If you could have bet that, you should have probably put some money on the prop.
Exactly.
But still, Brian Hoyer came in and did what he had to do. He led his team to a victory. He kept them afloat. Who is even their backup quarterback right now?
The only consistent thing about those two teams that we knew was going to happen is Max Crosby was going to put on another dirty hit.
Absolutely.
Because that guy's good for at least one dirty ass hit each game, and he got his one. Boom. Bill Belichick's got to be beside himself. He's got to be so frustrated because the man, all he does is win his whole career. And now I don't see them turning this one around at all. So, and the Raiders, don't look now, but the Raiders are 3-3.
3-3.
3-3 Las Vegas Raiders.
Which in that division, other than the Chiefs, you can be competitive.
They're not going anywhere anyway because the bottom line is Jimmy Garoppolo is probably going to be off for a while, and he's not that great anymore anyhow. Devontae Adams is he'll be traded next year because this team's not going to do it for him. He's frustrated. So that's about all I got to say about that game. I mean, all the Raiders, you're 3-3 and you're not going anywhere. So sit down.
All right. Another game we got to watch, one of our good friends, Mike Kibwell, the biggest Indianapolis Colts fan in all of the Westgate. It was the Indianapolis Colts at the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags pulled that one out 37-20. Not really a surprise there. That was one of your picks for the week. Biggest news out of there, Trevor Lawrence, a little bit banged up. He's practicing today. And that Gardner Minshew kind of played like the reason the Jags released him previously with 4 turnovers himself.
Yeah, I mean,
sloppy.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence came away with a little bit of a knee injury. I think it's a little bit more than a bone bruise. I'm not sure exactly the specifics on it, but I think he should be good to go. But I mean, wait and see because they do have to play the Thursday night football quick turnaround. So that'll be a little bit tricky. Yeah, it was a 9th straight home victory against the Colts, and finally, I bet against the Colts. Whether if I bet on them or against them in my picks, I usually tend to fall flat for some. But now the monkey's off my back, and the bottom line is the Colts lost, and the Jaguars look really good, and they're continuing to look good. They are a surprise right now. They took the Bills to the woodshed, and then now they went on and they beat up the Colts. Jonathan Taylor's looking sharp. He had a big play for almost 50 yards. I mean, everything's looking good. Travis Etienne, 2 touchdowns, almost 100 yards all-purpose, and the Colts are not. They're no longer in first place. It is not the first place Colts. It is the second place Colts.
Working their way back up.
So, yeah.
Maybe back into your never bet on it again graveyard. But, yes, you're right. You did go against your own advice again. And this time it worked out. But we'll see how many more Colts bets there are, Colts game bets in the future. Okay, one of our picks that didn't go so well this weekend, the Washington Commanders versus the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons got clipped here, losing to the Commanders 24-16. Before you go into it, fun fact, I'm going to read it off the paper because it's a little bit confusing. This was the first defeat that Desmond Ridder had on his home field since he was in high school, a streak that encompassed 31 consecutive wins between his time at the University of Cincinnati and in Atlanta.
Wow.
Just thought it was interesting. I came across that, thought I'd share it.
That's impressive.
Doesn't mean a hill of beans. They still freaking lost and didn't cover. Let's talk about it.
That was our 4-unit death sentence right there. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Desmond Ridder goes back-to-back 300-plus yard games. He didn't play bad. I mean, 300 yards. I mean, he had 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. That was the problem. 3 interceptions, that was really the Achilles heel. Whereas Sam Howell threw for 3 touchdowns, 150 yards only, but didn't make any mistakes. Drake London had a great game for Atlanta, 100-plus yards, 120-plus yards. And Bijan Robinson's doing okay. He did okay. He had all-purpose yards were decent. He's definitely getting involved in the passing game and catching the ball quite a bit. Running-wise, he didn't have a great game, but he's young, so time will tell. But he's gonna be great. No worries about him. I just don't. Yeah, Atlanta. That game was frustrating because Atlanta kept driving down, and then a mistake would happen, and they're looking better, but yet it was a frustrating game. That's all there is to say about it. That game, Atlanta should have been able to, time and time again, get back into it and to take the lead, and they just kept falling short and making mistakes. And it's a young quarterback and a young team. But, yeah, very frustrating.
Yeah, like I said, sometimes you have to come back down to earth, and sometimes it's just not your week. Just too many people aren't clicking on the right cylinders, and it just creates that perfect storm of you just can't get that one big play you need. You can't capitalize on that one break. And, I mean, that's what makes sports interesting at times, right? It's any given Sunday, as they say, except for the Giants getting screwed by the refs. That happens every week.
At the minimum, Ron Rivera has delayed his inevitable firing probably because they got to win. So
True.
He's going to have his job for another week for sure. And, yeah.
All right, let's go to, you were so excited about this game. You said you had no idea who to cheer for. You were looking forward to it all morning.
I already know where this is going.
The Minnesota Vikings versus the Chicago Bears. Minnesota scraps and claws out on this one against a backup quarterback on the Bears, 19-13. Is this we had to look him up, Tyson Bagent era? Justin Fields, obviously you paid him money, he's coming back. But
this game probably was a blackout game. Was it even on TV? I mean, it should have been blacked out if you were local because that stadium had to be empty. Who's going to watch that day?
Let's be clear on one thing.
Was it free hot dog if you buy a ticket day, or what's going on? I don't know.
The Vikings need Justin Jefferson. I mean, they need a lot more than just Justin Jefferson, but they looked even more of a struggling team without him against your favorite, the Bears.
I mean, the Vikings are done for the year. The Bears are done for the year. Justin Fields has a dislocated thumb, and he pretty much can spend the rest of the year sucking it because that's going to be about the only thing he can do because that team, he might as well pack it in, and they need to trade him next year because, I mean, Justin Fields' 2 great weeks where people thought he's back on track came against Denver and Washington. So what does that say? Nothing. So the Bears are where they're at. DJ Moore is dying on the vine. He had his great game last week, but if that guy played for most of the other teams in the league, he would be balling out nonstop. This Bears team is going nowhere. This Vikings team is done. I think they shut down Justin Jefferson maybe for the whole year because at what point does it even pay to bring him back? To get some stats? Because they're pretty much out of playoff contention at this point. So by the time he does come back, they may have one more win on their resume, if that. So the way I look at it is these two teams are kind of just going through the motions the rest of the year, and it's very early in the year. Week 6 is only in the books. There's 18 weeks. That's a long season of just having to play through the motions. I mean, they're all professionals, but these teams are done. They're basically playing for draft picks.
I was going to say, do you think, because doesn't Chicago hold 2 of the top draft picks for next season?
If the playoffs were to begin, if the season were to end today, I believe, they would get the first and second pick of the NFL draft.
And the Vikings might want to be in contention for the quarterback lottery for that draft too, because I don't know if Kirk Cousins has any more in him with the Vikings, or if they're ready to move on.
If I'm Kirk Cousins, I'm dropping that no trade clause, and I'm going anywhere.
There's a lot of teams that could use a quarterback, and that he would probably excel at, and be able, if he get on a team that has an offensive line that can give him a little bit of time to not get his foot stepped on and then tackled and balls tipped, he might be able to.
He could use a defense too. I mean, that's the thing.
And some scorers, so he kind of can use a new team.
I mean, he has a good offense. I mean, Jefferson's out, but Hawkinson's a beast, and
on paper they should be winning.
Yeah, I mean, they're not. That's all that matters.
The New Orleans Saints and the Houston Texans. Did I get it right this week?
Yep.
Okay, it wasn't the Oilers. Like I said last week.
No Oilers.
Not much of a game here, but interesting stats. This was Stroud's first interception in the NFL through 191 passes. Throws his first pick. He had 199 yards, and almost half of those went to Nico Collins. There wasn't much else going on for the Saints. The Texans. On the other end of the ball, Derek Carr threw 50 passes for 353 yards. Do the math, that's 3.5 football fields he threw for, managed 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Did you get anything out of this game?
I mean, and Alvin Kamara had 100-plus all-purpose yards as well, 0 touchdowns. So it just came down to they couldn't close out drives. I mean, it's just one of those things that they just didn't get it done. I mean, obviously they went up and down the field enough to get that many yards, but they couldn't close it down and convert it into points. They get held to 13 points.
13 points, 19-13.
So Derek Carr threw up some stats, and it looks good on paper, but that game was a loss. And the Texans somehow find another win. The Texans are 3-3.
Yeah, sorry, 20-13, and maybe they're one of the better 3-3 teams.
They were picked to win no more than 3 games this year. Vegas had them, I think it was over under a 3 or so, 3 or 4 maybe. And they're there. They're already home.
There, yeah.
So the point is, I don't know. Will the real Saints team step up? Because they look terrible, then they look really good. Then they look terrible, and then they look okay. So I don't know. I don't know what to think. The Saints have good wide receivers. Derek Carr is Derek Carr. Alvin Kamara is a beast, and that defense is pretty good. But yet somehow they seem to manage to lose games when they should win them, and then they play really good out of nowhere. times.
It's hard to put any faith in them, especially from a betting standpoint, too. Even if you have like a low cover, you're like, you think, okay, they should win this game by 3, they lose by 7. Or they should win this game by 6, and they cover it by like a last-minute field goal.
Yeah. So we'll see, to be determined.
Do you have any thoughts on the exciting, speaking of another team you actually love, the Detroit Lions versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Detroit Lions won this one 20-6. I thought I was watching an ice cream truck with the throwback orange creamsicle uniform that the Bucs were wearing. Perhaps, I'm sorry to say this, maybe the Lions are the best 5-1 team right now.
The Lions are really good. I'm going to give them all the credit in the world. You know, they were the little brother of the NFC North, and they're stepping up. Their defense is fierce. Jared Goff is playing good football.
Yeah. Can't do it for a whole season, though.
He's going to get a big contract, too. Rumor has it could be upwards of $300 million. So
we know what that's going to entail as soon as that happens. He's going to either hurt his neck, he's going to start throwing picks every game and not remember how to win. I'm sorry. It's just I'm bitter about the whole Daniel Jones thing.
He's not related to Daniel Jones, so projectate. So, yeah, Detroit looks good. That's all I got to say about Detroit. They're looking good. We'll see if they hold up. But as far as that goes, wait and see. Tampa Bay, no one had expectations for them to begin the year. They were all playing their expectations going into this game. And Baker Mayfield didn't look good. The team didn't look good in general. And, on to the next. They lost. Detroit won. And we'll see. But Detroit looking like they have a pretty good stranglehold in the division based on everything we're seeing right now.
Packers aren't going to make the miraculous comeback?
Packers are not done. I'm not going to make any predictions, but the Packers are not done. They're going to come off a bye, and let's see what happens. We'll go from there.
All right, last 2 games. Last Sunday game, the Arizona Cardinals versus the Los Angeles Rams. We can almost bookend Thursday night to this game. Boy, 6-3 at the half in favor of the Cardinals. No offense, nothing exciting until the second half when the Rams kind of came alive. Cooper Kupp is obviously back in a big way. 7 catches for 148 yards, surpassing the next 2 closest people were Tutu Atwell for 30 yards, and everybody's favorite rookie sensation, Puka Nacua, had 26. And honestly, I just want to throw that stat in so I could say Tutu and Puka because that's fun. They came alive in the second half, which was good for me because I hate when I put in my own parlays because I don't want you to see it and tell me how bad they are. But this was my late afternoon one. I hedged it just to be safe because it's 6-3. I'm like, I'm not sure the Rams can cover 7. Final score was 26-9. So the Cardinals continue to not generate much offense, and the Rams came back and won. It's interesting how teams sometimes have a struggle against the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean, the Rams are good. I mean, the Rams are playing well. Their defense is playing decent. This offense with Puka Nacua and Atwell and now Cooper Kupp, suddenly they got a really good wide receiving core. But they lost Kieran Williams, their running back. I mean, their running back situation seemed to be kind of shored up with him. He's solid, but he's hurt. How many weeks he's going to miss? I don't know, a couple. But Zach Evans is a new next man up. We'll see. He'll be a favorite in the world of fantasy football this week. Zach Evans will probably be on most people's list to try to get his running back. I mean, Matthew Stafford's playing pretty solid. He's staying healthy. He's getting sacked a lot. I mean, the guy gets banged up. But this team is finding ways to win. And in that division, I mean, San Francisco should be the team to beat in that division. But I can't rule the Rams out as a potential wild card team if they keep on the same pace of what they're doing because Seattle's nothing special. And we know Arizona, they're not great either. So,
well, let's put it this way. In the NFC, I just want to double check. The only other teams that have a 3-3 record or better are the Commanders, the Falcons, and the Saints, we just talked about, all at 3-3. Neither team there seems threatening. Got the Cowboys at 4-2. Cowboys, again, we'll talk about them in a moment. You don't know which Cowboys are going to show up one game to the next. So, yeah, that could be a wild card team for sure. Mm-hmm. The Cardinals aren't going to, the Seahawks aren't going to step it up. Got the Panthers in that division or that conference. So, yeah, that definitely could be a good wild card spot for them to land.
Yeah, time will tell. So, what do we got for the last game?
The last one for Monday night game was Dallas Cowboys at the LA Chargers. 2 teams I don't have much love for either. The Cowboys pulled this one off at the end, won 20-17. We were watching a movie during the game. It was a little more interesting. We should talk about that too. But
Dumb Money, baby. Good.
Dumb Money.
If you guys go see it, Dumb Money, it was a great movie.
Not the story of what they did spending money on Daniel Jones. I'll just say that. So, Yeah, so we didn't watch it, but you were following along in the theater. What did you pick up on from this one?
Yeah, I
And
mean, we didn't get to the theater till almost the end of the fourth quarter. So I mean,
That is true,
I
yeah.
was watching a lot of it. All I could say is Dallas, their offense was kind of a neat. It had points where it was good, but they always fell short. They went for it in fourth down a couple times in the red zone. They failed. CeeDee Lamb had a monster game. He looked really good. Pollard did okay. He made a really big run that was huge for the team.
But CeeDee Lamb is that team. If CeeDee Lamb goes down with an injury, it's just over for the Cowboys.
They need to pay CeeDee Lamb. He's going to get his money. He's due for a big contract, and he's going to get every penny of it. The Chargers, of course, were the Chargers. They made their share of mistakes, and in the end, Justin Herbert throws an interception to ice the game. And, yeah, I mean, 75% of the stadium were probably Cowboy fans. But that's pretty standard at a home Chargers game. So,
I called that. You asked me what's going to happen. I said, with 2 minutes left to go, they're probably going to throw a pick. And sure enough,
you did. We're sitting in a theater, and all of a sudden, I'm sweating it out a little bit, and I'm just like, okay, boom, interception, game over. It was perfect. Usually, so yeah, how about them boys? They got the win. Me, I'm not a fan of the Cowboys, of course, but whatever. I kind of felt they were going to take the W, and that was important. And
that was huge for them too, at least in the division, because forget the Giants and the Commanders, but with the Eagles falling to 5-1 and showing cracks,
big difference.
This is if anything, it's a mental boost to the Cowboys that they're right there.
Big difference between 4-2 and 3-3, especially in this division where they're now only one back of the Eagles, and they're going to play them soon, right? So it's going to make a difference as well. The Cowboys have only beat mediocre to poor teams, and I lean towards poor because I think the Jets were not good at the time that they beat them. I think if they played the Jets right now, the Jets definitely could win that game. But yeah, so all in all, it was a crazy week. Lots of volatility, lots of upsets, lots of unknown factors, injuries, poor officiating, multiple calls blown in each game. We won't get into that for the sake of time. But it was definitely an energetic, exciting weekend. I had a blast.
And like you said, a lot of different dynamics now. Like Richardson may be out for the whole season for the Colts, getting his surgery. Like I said, Lawrence playing on Thursday night. Will he be 100%?
Right.
What's happening with McCaffrey? So a lot of questions coming up that hopefully we'll have some of those answers for when we come back into the studio and film the picks for Week 7.
Yep, absolutely. So we'll see you guys on Thursday. Thursday night, Friday morning, the video will come out for this weekend's picks. We're super excited for Week 7. Get to sleep in, actually, and get to the Westgate around 7 instead of 4:30. So that's a big bonus. And, yeah.
Which is a plus for me because I realized the biggest problem with going there that early, getting there like at 5:30, that breakfast burrito ain't ready till 7, and I'm hungry. A hungry boy at 7.
That's a good point. So now if you get there at 7, you can go and eat right away.
First breakfast burrito off the grill. Best one of the day.
Yummy.
Thank you guys for watching. Like Jason said, we'll see you in a couple of days with the picks, teasers, and parlays for Week 7 in the NFL. Till then, stay safe. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you later. Boom.